Alright, today we're going to look at programming up a Easysolar, Victron Easysolar, CCGX really, but it's inside an Easysolar, to work with the Freedom 1 Lithium battery. And it's a pretty simple process. We've unboxed the battery and we've unboxed the Easysolar, and I've also unboxed Rod.
Yep, good morning. Okay, with the Freedom 1 and Victron stuff, put together an instruction sheet for programming for you guys to follow. This is part of the Victron online document and critique of what we've found with programming it to make it work. So if you do this in the field and you're stuck and we haven't pre-programmed it, please ask for a copy of this so you can follow it through. It's really quite simple. So
And RTFM.
yeah, RTFM, very important. So we'll just put that over there, so at least we've got the document to refer to. Freedom 1, you see it comes with a 3 metre lead, chop those to length. Start up on the unit is pretty straightforward. This one here is the home light unit. We've got a DC switch, so that's our DC protection. This is magnetic coupled as well on the BMS. If things do go wrong, it will disconnect and kill the power. To start the unit, to provide power, so we've connected the cables up onto the inverter. We've got that on. To start up the Freedom 1, you press and hold the on button for a few seconds. You hear it click, which it just clicked. We can now turn the power on the DC. So we've now got DC on and we can release the on button. So we've now got power to the unit and it's starting up. We'll turn this on as well. So that's basically the first step to provide power to the Victron. The interface with the Victron with the Freedom 1 is through CAN bus, and in your installation toolkit that comes with the unit, you'll see a couple of blue termination plugs. Very important that you use these and these guys only. And on the Freedom 1 itself, you'll see two RJ45 terminals somewhere on the battery. On this one, it's off to the side. And being CAN bus, we'll place one of these, if I know which way they go in, and the other one will have an RJ45 cable. So I'll go ahead and plug this in. Termination plugs in. There we go. So that's our RJ45. Back of the CCGX, we've got VE CAN. I've already got a termination plug in there already. And that's the connection for the battery. The VE CAN point, you see we've got the termination already in there. And while we've got this open, we're going to set up the Ethernet connection. So we'll put this into the Ethernet port and we'll set up the VRM. So this guy here will plug into a router. So the first step you've got to do with these out of the box is update everything. So that's now plugged in. On the CCGX itself, okay, from the settings tab, we'll go straight into firmware. We've plugged it in, online updates, press to check, go ahead and it will find an online update. 233 is the highest, so we'll go ahead and let it do an update. First thing to do with the CCGX is to get that to the highest version to make sure it's going to interact with a lithium battery bank of any flavour. So, okay, so we've gone ahead and it's taken the firmware, it's going to go through a reboot. A point of note here with the Freedom 1, even though we've got no communication with it at all, we are connected obviously with the power. The Freedom 1 will retain the power to allow us to go through the process. Other lithiums that we've come across, if there's no connection, they turn off, which is a bit painful because you've still got a pile of settings to do. So as soon as this restarts, I'll go through the other set points. The inverter itself, we have to flash the latest firmware in that, and we'll go through that next once we set up the basics in the CCGX overview here for you. And then we'll get into the back end of the inverter itself and the charge controller so it works properly. Okay, cool. So we've started back up and we're into the front screen. Into settings, general, start at the top, user and installer. If you see anything else other than user installer, it has to be user installer. If you're ever confused or lost, if you press user installer, we'll ask for a password. Password is 3Zs, and that'll give you installer level. So on this connection currently we're doing it on LAN, so we'll activate that. Remote support, we definitely want that. A very useful function here is reboot. Once you've done everything, you definitely want to reboot it to just stabilize your unit, to pull everything and all the changes you've done. It's always a good idea to turn electronics off and on after you've done a pile of programming. Demo mode has to be off or else you'll be stuck in demo mode. That's it for general. Firmware, the first step we've done is 2.33, it was 2.11. It will work with Lithium at 2.33. Date and time zone is Pacific, and we're in New Zealand time zone. Remote console, we want to enable it onto the VRM portal, so select that. We're using a LAN connection, we'll enable LAN. System setup, we will go through this a little later, but we definitely have settings in here to check. VRM online portal, here's our VRM portal ID. This is what we will put in to create the VRM portal ID number. We're not going to use HTTPS, our file will reject that. And that's basically on that page. ESS, we're setting up off-grid, so that's going to be ignored. No energy meters, no GT inverters on the AC side on this one.
But if you were to put a GT inverter, you can enable that even without a GT inverter, correct?
Well, you can, but it needs to find it. So yeah, as you can see, it's automatically scanning anyway. And then once it does find it, under the inverters tab, you tell the position of where it was, whether it was on the AC side, the grid side, or on the AC output side for AC coupling.
Correct.
So that's where you go in PV inverters. Down the bottom here, services. This is where things need to be checked as well. Two-way communication for VRM. So that basically sorts out the VRM setup, which seems a bit complex and time-consuming, but once you've done these a few times, it is pretty straightforward. They do seem to have a lot of redundant features of having to check a lot of boxes to make it work. I pretty much enable everything so it does work. For the Freedom 1, we go to CAN bus 500. It's, as you see, default is 250. So as soon as I tell it's CAN bus 500, it'll actually now start talking to the Freedom 1. I can now actually go up into settings. So under system setup, we are under settings, system setup, battery monitor, and at this point we should have seen the Freedom 1 connection occur.
Maybe a reboot.
Or it's going to be the firmware in the inverter itself stopping us. So what we'll do first is a reboot, like Ben is saying, but it should have actually picked it up automatically. Like I said, the best thing to do is reboot after all those changes, and we'll let it see if it can start talking properly. So we'll give it a reboot, restart, and we'll go straight back into system setup, and we should see the Freedom 1 connection. Okay, so with the reboot, it's now found the Freedom Light battery bank, which is fantastic. just needed a reboot. Back into settings, and we'll go into system setup. And auto, it's found the Freedom Light anyway, but please select the Freedom Light on CAN bus to make sure that's what it's actually looking for. And we've now found it. So on this one, AC input 1 is going to be a generator. AC input 2, it's not a Quattro, it's not available. So AC input 1, genset. AC input 2, it's a multi-plus, so there's no AC input 2. Battery monitor, Freedom Light on CAN bus, it's found it. That is basically it for the setup of the CCGX for now to see the CAN bus profile and the VRM account. So at this point, what we're going to do next is program the Multiplus 2 and the charge controller for the Freedom 1 battery settings, and then we'll get into the VRM connection.
So we're going to go back into the Victron Connect app, click on the Smart Solar, click on the top right cog for settings, click on battery. Now down here, a rotary switch, we should change that to select preset. Scroll down, we have lithium iron phosphate, LiFePO4. That's the chemistry inside the Freedom 1 battery. And we want to change the voltages to the Freedom 1 battery presets, which are 55.8 for both absorb and for float. 55.8, okay. Now we also should make sure that temperature compensation is indeed disabled. Leave that disabled. We certainly don't want the voltage being pushed higher just because it's cooler. And low voltage cutoff, leave that at 5 degrees Celsius. And that is all you need to do. You'll notice there's little ticks on the left-hand side. That means that the settings that you've changed have been accepted. So 55.8 volts. And exit. You are done.